Ooh, man, this weekend's been pretty crazy. What's going on, my fellow world denizens, my kill team extraordinaires, and yes, my Trench Crusaders. Today we're going to be trying something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the World Championships, but while we're doing it, we're also going to be doing kind of like, I guess you would say, a little unboxing. I actually haven't opened my Ember Guard. But then so, I guess that brings us to the next part. What was with World Championships? And that's kind of the biggest thing that most people didn't really think about with championships. Like, it was a great match. Trust me. I was excited to see a lot of the war bands being played. I was excited to actually see like who was being played. And we did see a lot of Drum, the Chosen, basically go into the matchups. But surprisingly enough, we saw something counter to that. Thrice Fold. Which is kind of cool how the Thrice Fold is actually still relevant, because I've liked them and I've never got to play them officially. You know, it's kind of one of those things where even for me, it drives me crazy. And the simple fact, oh my God. So what was kind of crazy to me, though, is that we saw all these war bands, but we saw Thrice Fold actually come in and be the winner, which was really cool to see that kind of happen, because the biggest part about it is that having the meta be broken. And remind you, he didn't face just one. He faced multiple drums, which, again, I think it was great. Ooh, look at this. Wow. Right off the bat, they've been really about this a lot lately. Just basically kind of giving these, like, full, like, here's everything in a case instead of separation, which is cool because I appreciate it. And then, of course, we get these models. I actually like these models. This is the first time I've actually wanted to paint Skaven. I was kind of like, something about Ratshood. But then again, at the same time, too, on the other side is I've never always been, like, I liked Stormcast at first, but for some reason, these ones didn't, like get me excited. Like, the face that he has made me kind of go, like, they could have sculpted it better. But, you know, they're Stormcast. You see a lot of them. People have a lot of them. It is what it is. But back to the main point was we saw over this weekend actually a lot of different things. And again, in all the teams that competed, the biggest thing that even Dave Hex said from What the Hex basically said that they saw a lot of Drum and not a lot of variety, which is understandable because previously there was discussions about how, you know, this was going to go, basically. People had already started, like, competing and testing out the rules on Vassals. If you guys don't know what it is, Vassal is a program that people use to play Underworld, since currently the Underworlds game that is on Steam isn't up to date, which, again, I feel like they could patch that and update it, but they didn't do so. Maybe they're doing another rendition. We'll see. That'd be kind of a cool thing to see. But overall, the reason why the variety was lacking was because of the lack of information that was distributed. War Scrolls didn't fully go all the way out. We didn't have everything completely done, and we even had people printing and copying just to get their copies because, again, everything hasn't been fully shipped. This is nice. I really do like this part of it. It's just nice to see this kind of, like, art. And I also like the lore that will go behind it, so this will definitely be some late night reading for me. But overall, the thing that I really enjoyed was that they were very honest, because, like, a lot of people thought this was going to be the meta. Like, we're going to have to deal with a quarterly, like, you know, errata coming later to fix these two, which means they now get an extra charge, that they both have their own ability. Like, well, one has the ability to heal, and then at the same time, too, Thrice Fold has its own little threats built on it. Now, the decks they used, that's kind of one thing where I was actually intrigued by, because a lot of them are kind of were like interesting in selections of what they used with them. Man, I love this. It is very much streamlined. It's kind of hard not to say that this has not been, like, you know, optimized. You know, it seems like everything's been pinpointed, put out there. You know what it all is. See, love this. The Blazing Assault, Rivals deck, Emberstone Sentinels, Pillage Plunder, Countdown Cataclysm, and I'm looking forward to using these. And then we have, you know, what is this? Oh, okay. So we have these two ones set for it. Twice from it. Nice. I can dig that. So, but what we did see over time, that's kind of cool. Nice. The instructions for everything. What we did see, I don't know this. You get to see these nice little cards, right? Look at it. And this one right here, which I appreciate very much. And we got this one going on right here. Look at this. It's kind of cool here if you really look at it. Like, Got the nice little tokens going for you and everything. But anyway, like we were saying, oh, the board. I wanted to see this. This one I hadn't seen just yet. Let's see how it looks and comes out. I like it, actually, kind of a bit. There we go. Nice. Kind of set how it looks. Actually, I love kind of like the formality of it. It doesn't, like, I mean, it still has the two halves, but it's not as big when you look at it. I mean, what do you guys think? I think it's pretty cool. All right. Now, continuing back on, we were talking about decks. You kind of saw, too, that the decks he used was, like, the Sentinel Guardians and Blazing Assault, and we saw a mixture with Thrice Fold. Now, it kind of was the same if you look overall, you know, with the other decks that came close that were more heavy and aggressive. And we saw a lot of more aggressive play, which is great. There we go. Pillage and Plunder. This being one of the main decks a lot of people use, but if you also look at it, they also had stuff like, let's see here, Aggressive Climate. This is one of the objective cards that you saw being played in the tournament. Aggressive Climate. Score this immediately after a friendly fighter's successful attack. If the target was neutral, in neutral territory, or the target was holding a treasure token when you pick them to be the target of an attack. And is longer holding in treasure tokens. Oh, that's not too bad. People hold like positions like that. But my main point was to go over the fact that if you looked at it, the whole entire thing, that the meta itself isn't being determined by this tournament. Like I can tell you, like, oh, you take this deck, and then you take the additional decks that came with it. Oh, look at this. Pull them out here. These are just warbands, but they have decks under them. You take the additional decks that go with them. So we have the decks that came with them. Boom. And then you have the decks that are additional with them that are right here. Boom. Okay. And again, you can play these with any warband, but you basically saw a lot of these two being played more often because these were the two archetypes that were actually going hand in hand. Oh, sorry. Forget the countdown to Cataclysm. I was making the wrong part of that. But the main point is that you got to see Blazing Assault, which if you look on the Ember Guard themselves, the Stormcast, but these were the two main decks that were basically being used together in the tournament to achieve their goals. Now, as great and wonderful all that was, it doesn't determine the meta 100%, because remember, we have only the 4 decks currently right now that we're sitting with. All right. We did see some cool stuff being built, but I don't think we saw the full max potential again because everyone said this was more of a rush job. So determining if the meta is going to be part of this, if this is like what the meta is, I think it's a little bit too early to tell. But I definitely will say I got to see Ember Guard in action, Underworld 2.0, and to be honest, I really liked it because you saw a lot of competitiveness. You saw people really building decks that made a big difference, and they were played differently by each player because they saw different responses. Now, will the meta be shaped this way, that we're going to be seeing Thricefold and Rom a lot? I will definitely say I am going to definitely build my Thricefold, but that was because I wanted to build them and I wanted to try them out, so kind of one of those things by luck, I was picking out something. Again, I wasn't reading meta heavy. I was mostly trying to make sure that, the rule of cool, I play what I like, so that kind of how that came up. But it worked out my best. Now, I don't have Drums, chosen because I am not as cool as some people where I didn't get that one. I hemmed and hawed on them. They just, again, it came down to the rule of cool, and it wasn't the biggest thing for me. And I was kind of like, nah, that's not going to really stick it for me at most. I'm not going to be playing, a team that I'm not happy about. And I know a lot of people buy the teams because, when you do, channels like mine, you're going to basically want to play everything to show everybody everything so you can always give an example. But the unfortunate part is I realize that unless I start getting free stuff for our guys and we end up getting, demo copies, it's going to be hard for us to do things like that. But overall, I think the tournament was a success, and I think it was great. I think Underworld is actually headed in a great direction, which makes me happy because at the end of the day, I'd rather see our game grow instead of kind of sputter out, because that's been the case for a lot of games in the past, is they haven't fully made it all the way to the top. They've always kind of sputtered out. And Underworlds was on that brink to where it was there. It had some problems. The game wasn't really in a good spot at one point, and a lot of people weren't playing it. At one point, I was able to pick up a set at an auction to play the game, and now it's kind of cool that I have a lot of the varieties and options going. Man, this thing does not want to work for me. It literally just does not like it. But I didn't have as many options as other people, which again, that's kind of cool that I didn't have that option. I like that rarity because it is cool, but I also didn't like that, and that's kind of where we see with Ember Guard, that whole thing kind of gets taken care of with the new warbands and decks that are being put out there, which I like a lot. I think it's actually really cool, and I think, that we're seeing a new version of Underworld being played, and I like it because more people are more competitive with it. They really enjoy it. They're getting into it, and they're coming up with great ideas. Now, my gripes and complaints about this kind of set thing, as we, little diverges. My problem is always cards like this. Games Workshop, I'm going to just say this straight out to you guys. You guys are like infamous for things like this. You guys constantly kind of put this whole thing where you make these cards, and about a month or so, they're going to be not even worth that what they're printed on, because the information gets changed. I would like to see the information retained, or at least not enough that I always have to keep ditching these, because I like these. I hate that I have to get rid of this cool thing, because that may change in the future, and I hope that it doesn't, but we'll see as time goes on. Besides that, I think right now what we're seeing with Underworlds, we're in a good spot. I think that we have a lot of stuff to grow from. There may be some growing pains, which again is expected, but I think so far the initiative they took is actually a step in the positive, because I can see Underworlds definitely amping up to be a more competitive game than it was before, and being a lot more thought, just more thought going into it in general, which is even cooler to me, where I'm like, this is definitely taking a turn to what I really expected. But again, who knows? That could change. That could actually be something completely different. But, we'll see. We'll see where the meta takes us. We'll see where the next tournaments. I mean, I know I'm going to try out a bunch of different bands, but overall, I'm kind of excited. And the one thing I do want to tell you guys is that we will be offering a little bit later is that I'm going to try to talk more about the war bands and discuss them after I played them full. I mean, if you guys haven't seen them yet, here's my little troop to kind of show you guys my collection so far. I've painted different varieties. They're all in there. Look at them. They're all just sitting in there for you guys to take in, to check out, and to be played live. But with that said, I want to progress forward to what we were also discussing. Now, as for Kill Team, we did see some news up reports on it, and we did see the fact that, Warp Coven was one of the bigger ones. Inquisitor Agents actually came up too, which I was excited because they are a great team to play during this meta of Kill Team. I mean, that's kind of what I'm playing right now, and I like it. But I will be changing a little bit because, I do want to play some more Chaos, and I don't want to get, pigeonholed to playing the same thing. But now brings me to my next part of the segment, because after that part, Kill Team, it was typical. 2.0 or 3.0 has actually been really fun. We'll be getting more into it, and you'll be seeing more updates with it. But we also have a tournament that we travel to, and you guys will be seeing that video soon. But overall, I think these 2 points of the game for Champions was actually fun to watch. I think it was cool to see father and son team get in there, but unfortunately the dad lost, I think, day 1 or 2. And seeing Warp Coven get in there, Legionaries, I think was cool. I was kind of expecting something else, but the way the meta's working, even seeing Hero Tech up there was cool, because I was like, you know what? They haven't had their chance to actually do that. But like I was saying before, to the next part of the segment, what I want to talk about, Trench Crusade. This has been the talk of the tabletop world recently, and that's been a big thing. Now, I know a lot of you guys are like, man, you guys do a lot of different coverage for a lot of different things. But the biggest thing that I've mostly been wanting to focus on is a certain amount of games which are skirmish and tabletop games. I've always liked skirmish games. They've been simple, easy, but they carry a little bit more interactiveness that I really enjoy. Some of the big boy tabletops I just have never been a fan of, because I constantly always get just bored by it, and it's just maybe it's my ADHD brain, I don't know, but it never really held the same thing as when I played skirmish games of interaction back and forth, and I've always loved that part. And the big part what we want to focus on mostly for this channel is Underworlds, Kill Team, Trench Crusade, and we're also looking into Spearhead in the future. Now, I like to keep it mostly skirmish games, but we are also a small team trying to produce different types of content that we enjoy and we want to share with you guys. It may not be perfect, but as time grows, I hope you guys are along with us in that journey and actually growing it out. Now, Trench Crusade. Like we were saying before, is that it has been the tabletop talk of the last few weeks. Why? Well, originally, it started out as a game that was on a trial for a minute there, that they were basically doing basic play testing, had a round of kickstarting, and they kind of had a fan base. The game alone itself was actually pretty solid for what it was. Granted, it had its flaws, but it was still gaining its little swelling and kind of cult following. Now, in this last week, we saw that when they finally launched their Kickstarter, refinement showing everything they had, they were only asking for $33K, okay? Now, that's a pretty reasonable price, especially asking once you cut most of your overhead and everything you do. But my God, the response of the tabletop community came out tenfold. They went from $33K to $3.3 million. Now, if you guys don't know how much it takes to produce a game, it takes a lot. And the fact that this small independent company, having those STL files makes a big difference because it makes it cheaper, which is one of the biggest problems that GW usually suffers from, is that it's overpriced and of inflation for its figures. Granted, these plastic sculpts are not simple to build, so I'm not saying that they don't deserve the price they do, but in recent years, people have felt that inflation, even with what they're getting, is not the same price. It kind of feels a little bit stifling and sometimes makes it harder for people to join the game. Trench Crusade is going past that by perfectly launching the STL files that actually will go with the game when it fully launches, but it also has previous ones and then also other designers who are helping trying to make it too. You can also get the playtest rules right now on their website. Go check it out. But overall, the game itself offers a great way for everyone to get in, the response from the community, and to be honest, the skirmish game itself kind of plays in a sense of Kill Team with a bigger grand scale from only functioning from 7, 6, 10 figures to 10 to 20 figures, and is played in a manner of activations kind of like Kill Team, which again, I like that because that's what I've been generally asking for out of 40K, is that instead of having one figure, you can have one unit move, so that unit responds and that unit responds. But they never, again, I don't play Big War 40K, so unless I had backing, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't acknowledge that idea. But I think that level of interactiveness creates a different layer of tactics than what we're used to see, and offering more of a cunningness for you to play the game, and also challenges you to be able to resort to just changing. And I think that's kind of the cool aspect about Trench Crusade. It's still, got its rough spots. We do hear its complaints. Some people feel that the Trench Pilgrims underdeliver. Other people feel that, other teams are stronger. But again, this is a growing game that people wanted because it shows currently in the market that as much as we love GW, don't get me wrong, I love GW, but every now and again, I need a break. And I like to try out different worlds instead of the death apocalypse, but more of a religious overtoned apocalypse. I guess you're not really trading much. And he is also known for writing series like this. Yeah, one of the top TV shows going on right now, Arcane. Now, and what's even crazier to me is that people haven't even, he hasn't even touched the full story for Trench Crusade, which is going to be amazing, which I feel maybe I'm hyping it up too much, but to have that backing of an experience of a writer, I feel like we're going to get a really solid game that's actually going to have a great start, and hopefully that, again, for a new game, that they'll be able to get everything worked out, and that it will still keep the momentum and don't go into the same areas like War Machine did and go with gigantic, giant-sized pieces, which again, War Machine, you could have been doing pretty well for yourself. You shot yourself in the foot there. But overall, guys, thank you for tuning in for this. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to get out of here. But again, guys, I'm glad you took time to tune in, hear a little about World Champions, see my unboxing, and kind of hear the direction of where the channel's going. Trust me, it's not just me and this beautiful face you get to see all the time, but there's other people here who contribute to it, like Randy, Derek, this one kid who rides the bus. He shows up. You've seen him in a few videos. He'll be around. But we're also growing our team out with wonderful people, and also another other person who will be joining us soon is Justin. I love that man. You guys have seen him a few times. He's actually done some Blood Bowl stuff with us. But overall, guys, thank you so much for being here. If you guys like this kind of stuff, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. And guys, Hunter X out to all my world denizens, my Kill Team extremists, and all my Trench Crusaders. Hunter X out.